for a seminar. I'm going to read his bio off of my phone, so I apologize. Dr. Wang is a professor in the Department of Entomology at Rutgers. He received his bachelor's from Beijing Forestry University in 1985, master's from the Chinese Academy of Forestry, and a PhD from West Virginia University. His research focuses on the development of new and improved techniques and materials for urban pest management, insecticide resistance, and insect behavior. He published 13 books or book chapters, greater than 110 peer-reviewed papers, and 30 non-peer-reviewed articles, co-authored 2 patents, which turned into widely used products in the U.S. Dr. Wang received multiple regional and national awards for his research and extension efforts in urban pest management. And he's going to talk to us today about protecting human health through safe and effective pest management. Thank you, Changlu.
Thank you, Dina. Well, welcome. Today I will talk about something that you all have encountered or will encounter sometime in your life. So basically the urban pests that occur in our homes or around structures. So the title is about protecting human health through safe and effective pest management. So everyone will find some pests in your home or somewhere in common areas, like the campus. So even this building has some roaches, I know. So these are some data that we surveyed in the past. All of these are low-income housing. So by the way, if you want to find the urban pests, where you would look is the low-income communities. So every city in New Jersey has a housing authority, like a New Brunswick. And if you go there, you find like 28% have roaches, 11% have mice, and 8% have bed bugs. That was in 2018. So these are all the data from the low-income housing in different parts of the country. Gary, Indiana, New Brunswick, and 4 cities in New Jersey. If you look at the data, cockroach is always the #1 pest in homes, especially apartment buildings. The second pest is mice. The third one changed from ants in the 2008 to bedbugs, because bedbugs researched about 20 years ago. So even now, the bedbug is the #3 pest found in homes. So actually, amazingly, a very high percentage of homes with the bedbugs, about 9%. That was in 2022 when we published data. Besides these important urban pests, there are also many nuisance pests. Nuisance pests means that they don't really bite people or transfer vector diseases, but they just become annoyance. Among those insects, flies is the #1, then followed by beetles, then spiders, ants, and bugflies. So this is based on the survey using sticky traps. We usually use sticky traps placed in different parts of the home. Then you can find all kinds of pests. Even in this room, if you put some sticky traps, you'll find some pests. So a lot of pests can actually be important to your health, especially the first 3, like cockroaches, mice, and bedbugs. For cockroaches, they can contaminate the food by crawling on your food or their feces. They carry pathogens. But another thing that many people ignored is allergens produced by roaches. So cockroaches produce about 10 different allergens. We name by BLA G1 to 10. BLA means the first 3 letters of the genus name, Blatella. G is the first letter of the species name, Germanica. So 52% of the homes with roaches had the cockroach allergen BLG1 levels in the kitchen dust samples above the threshold for risk of sensitization, which means you can be sensitized, then you become allergic to the protein. For me, I'm more sensitive than most of you, because when I go to the cockroach room, I will feel the smell because my nose becomes itchy, and a long time exposure can also cause my eyes become watery. The allergen occurs in the feces, the dead body, the skins, or the dust in the on the floors. For house mouse, urine, feces, dander also contain pathogenic microbes plus allergens. So urine actually is the most source of the mouse allergens. You probably don't notice the one mouse can drop 40 to 100 droplets of urine every day, and all of those droplets contain allergens. The allergen name is called Mus M1, MUS M1. So this is also the species name, Mus musculus, so 1. So this is the most common allergen by the house mouse. 90% of apartments with mice had the Mus M1 levels in the kitchen dust greater than 1 microgram per gram dust. So which means that 90% of the homes, if you live there with mice, you tend to be at more risk of asthma attack. Also, they carry ectoparasites. The most common ectoparasites is the mites, different mites. There are 4 species of mites. The most important one is the house mouse mite, Leishmaniasis sanguineus, which can carry the Rickettsia pox, the bacteria. So, although this is not commonly reported, but there is a highly potential they can cause the disease. 46% of house mouse have this mice. Think about it. Actually, it's a very high risk. And each mouse may carry 4 to 6 these mites. So when the mice dies, then the mites will migrate to human and they feed on you. So that actually can cause the urinary parasitosis or true bites from the mice. Bedbugs also is a medically important pest because they can bite people, they can cause a loss of sleep, stress, etc. These pictures actually from my colleague. He used to visit my lab for 1 year. So one time he got a bite from his neck and from his leg. The red picture actually is my wife. She rears bedbugs. So from time to time, she occasionally gets beaten by bedbugs. So you have to be really careful. So anyone working in my lab, you have to be very careful so that you want to avoid these bites. And some people can get very allergic or sensitive to the bites. For me, actually, I can tolerate a lot in the past, but over time, I become very sensitive. So this is my picture actually. One time I got a whole body allergic reaction because I was feeding the bedbugs on my leg. Then within 10 minutes, I got blurry eyes, sweating, itchy, and then I have a whole body called those rashes. So I had to go to the emergency room to take some medicine. The right picture is also a researcher from Australia. Then he also tested with some bedbugs on his arm, but only a few bedbugs bite, then called the whole body reaction. So eventually, we published this paper in Entomology, reported this very rare, like a whole body allergic reaction. So you can get this kind of a severe reaction if you are repeatedly exposed to bedbug bites. Similar to many other insect allergens, some people become more sensitive, some people may become less sensitive. It all depends. But certainly bedbugs is one thing that you have to be very careful. You always have the nuisance pests. This is also from my home. One time I found that the carbon ants get into the honey jars because they look like they always like honey and always sweet materials. So carbon ants is the most common ants here in New Jersey. If you go out this building, you find many of them, especially during the night, because they are nocturnal. And many nuisance pests, they can cause the urinary parasitosis, which is basically a disease. Really should be handled by a doctor. I receive all these inquiries at least once a month. So this is an example from New York. He said bugs swarming over a downfilled duvet in the bedroom. They are from arthropod bites. They are very real. They have all kinds of reasons that they are firmly believed they're infested with bugs. And people can tend to get very frustrated, desperate, and helpless, and they would look for all kinds of help from entomologists, from exterminators, from doctors, from other different sources. So they would sold everything, move from place to place, etc. So actually there are a lot of things that we should know about the urban pest. So when people find a pest or find a suspicious any bugs in their home, they always try to first think about do it yourself, because then it's cheap, convenient, and you don't need ask somebody to come. When we surveyed about the DIY method, the most common method is spray. I imagine many of you probably use the sprays in your homes. If you do a survey, most homes have some insecticide sprays. And actually, most of the times, it's not very effective. So I will talk about it later. So other methods, glue boards, baits, dust, and the snap traps, electronic repeller devices. Anybody use electronic repellers? So you should never use those, right? It's completely waste. Total release foggers. How about foggers? Anybody use foggers? So you shouldn't use also. Alcohol. Many people probably use alcohol. Alcohol really is only useful for sanitation, but it's really not useful for pest control. So here are some examples that I found in homes for controlling cockroaches. So the first room, this is one apartment in the kitchen that the resident used the roach and ant spray for roaches, then also boric acid dust for cockroaches. So actually for cockroach, this spray really not very useful because of the resistance. For boric acid dust, you should apply to cracks, crevices on the floor, behind the cabinets, etc., not on exposed surfaces. It just doesn't look nice and can be dangerous, right? The second home, I found that these 6 different products. So 2 boric acid dust, one is raid ant and roach spray, it's an aerosol. Actually, this is the most popular product that I found in homes. If you go to Home Depot, you find this one readily. Then there is an electronic repeller. There are 2 cockroach bait stations. Among all of these, I would suggest only use boric acid because these are not very useful. This repeller completely ineffective. And the last one, this one, 4 different sprays were used for controlling cockroaches. So actually, none of these really work very well because they are repellent and also cockroaches are resistant. People use many different pesticides for controlling bedbugs. Here are some examples I found in homes. This person used the diatomaceous earth dust on the sofa. Well, DE dust is useful, but this is not the right way to apply. Foggers. See, this person used the 9 different foggers in the same room. Well, supposedly you should only use 1 because then if you use 10, you have a potential of explosion. But anyway, even use 9, it still doesn't work because it doesn't kill bed bugs. It doesn't kill anything basically. We talked about this. Why EPA would approve this kind of product, but unfortunately EPA really they couldn't do anything about this, including the electronic repellers. Also, there are many over-the-counter products that people use, and they are not useful. For instance, Hot Shot is a very popular brand If you go to the retail stores, you find hot shot product easily. However, when we tested, these products had no effect on bedbugs. It's the same as water. So just think about it. So there are many products available, but not useful. Essential oil products, many essential oil products, they call it green products, also are sold for bedbugs, for roaches, and many other home pests. And we tested more than 10 different essential oils. None of these really work for bedbugs. Actually, there are 2 products that works. I will maybe explain later. So the 2 products works, but we don't know really what makes it effective. So that actually deserves further investigation. And when people found the products are not working, they would try use more. So in this case, 10 gallons were applied in 1 bedroom within 12 months. Now think about the amount of residue accumulated in your home. So you would really have at very high risk of exposure to the pesticides, especially if you have young children or pets. And people, use all kinds of products. They will go online search for pesticide products. Especially, during the COVID, people tend to order from online. But actually, if you order from online, you find more effective products. But also, these products are actually we call them restrictive products. Supposedly, for example, this Demand CS and the Bayer product called Temperate, they are professional products. You should have a license to purchase to use. But actually, everybody can buy them. So it's a loophole that needs to be fixed. So many of these online products actually are useful, but they are restricted. There are also many green products. Green products means they are less hazardous, less risky to human. Again, the efficacy of these products are questionable. For example, Ecovia and Essentia, these are 2 products. If you look at the active ingredients, Ecovia has 20% thyme oil, 14% 2-phenyl propionate, and 8% rosemary oil. And we tested both products, Ecovia and Essentia. None of them really work for bedbugs. For roaches, we didn't test, but I'm sure it doesn't work. So this is one thing about green products, that yes, they are safer, but they are not effective. So, there are a lot of things that we should consider when we talk about pest control. Besides the ineffectiveness, when you apply pesticides, you also introduce another hazard to your home, that is the insecticide residue. So 71% of homes with roaches have detectable residues in our survey. The top 5 insecticides and their percentage is shown here. See, permethrin is number 1. So if you go to stores, you look at the label, you find permethrin, cypermethrin, deltamethrin. These actually are the most common pesticides. The 4th one is the lambda-cyhalothrin and the imiprozin. So look at the labels, you'll find that these are the most common ones that appear on the consumer market. And all of these are peripherals. So, when you have a pest in homes or in the building, you have multiple risks. Besides the pest itself, the bites, the allergens, but they also have other things like pathogens, the food contamination, psychological stress, loss of sleep, pesticide residues. So multiple risks associated with pest infestations. So how would you deal with that to minimize the risk from these pests? So we studied urban IPM in different cities in the past. So the goal is that we can educate people or demonstrate more effective ways so that you reduce the pesticide use, but at the same time you increase the efficacy of the treatment. I want to introduce 2 programs we studied in the past. One is about cockroach, the other is about mice. because of time, I wouldn't talk about the bed bugs. That's a whole different subject. So cockroach is the number one pest, we already know. And currently, pest control people, they would come once a month, they check, they would spray a little bit or apply some bait, then they leave. That's typically what they do. So we decided to compare IPM program with the control. Control is the professional provided monthly service. So usually, every apartment building, they have a contractor. Supposedly, the landlord they provide the pest control service. We did this in Patterson, New Jersey. So we selected 2 buildings. One building had 188 units. So we treated this building for 1 year period. The second building, very similar, but with 112 units. And then the pest control company treated this building. So we consider this as control. This type of environment is ideal for this kind of study because every unit is same, all identical, either 1 bedroom or studio room. So you can have many samples at the same time. So every unit, we placed 4 traps in the kitchen, under the sink, beside the stove, beside the refrigerator, and then beside the toilet. So these are the 4 most common locations you can find cockroaches because this place has water and food, or at least water. So bedroom usually don't have water. That's why we only need a place in the kitchen and the bathroom. Then after 2 weeks, we go back and check. So here you can see the median count, the per apartment is 11 roaches, and the maximum was 484. So these 4 traps shows the 2-week trap catch in 1 apartment. So the numbers you can see actually quite high. We call this heavy infestation. So you can get a lot actually in a 2 weeks period. And this is actually a very typical apartment building. In some other buildings we even have more than this. But anyway, 49% of apartments had cockroaches. So that's in this site. So you can see that a very high percentage of homes can have pests. If you look at the distribution, the most common place you find roaches is beside the refrigerator because the refrigerator has condensation. So you have a motor, so that motor provides the temperature plus the condensation provides the moisture. And then people usually don't move around the fridge. So that's why refrigerator actually has the most number of roaches. The second place is the stove. Stove because people cook. Then you have the oil, food, etc. Plus stove also is heavy, so people don't move that much. So that's why if you really want to get rid of roaches, first you have to take out the fridge, take out the stove, and check behind. That's the most common place you want to check if you want to really get a good control. But unfortunately, the pest control provider usually they are busy. They only spend 30 seconds in your apartment. Then they have no time to do this inspection. So that's why a good inspection and also move around the appliances is very important for cockroach control. How would you control the roaches? So once you find them, the most effective method is to use the gel baits. So there are different gel baits available. How you apply the gel baits is equally important. So usually you would open every cabinet, every drawer, apply multiple locations. The more location, the better. But each location, very small amount. We say 0.1 gram. That's the typical amount that we apply. The more location, better because these baits are not attractive, which means they don't have a pheromone to attract the roaches from long distance. So cockroaches basically they run into the baits, then they eat the bait. So that's why you want to apply many spots, plus as close as possible to the harborage sites. we rotated among 4 different baits. All of these baits are very effective. So if you want to control roaches yourself, you can also try these: Advil, Alpine, Max Force FC Select, Avert Dry Flowable. So all of these are actually quite effective for controlling cockroaches, but we rotated them between the months so that avoid the resistance issues. In addition to the baits, we also use the boric acid dust, but this actually is too much. This is applied by the residents. So residents use a lot of pesticides. They really don't follow the labels very well. This is from the refrigerator area. So you remove the refrigerator, you should first clean it, then you apply a very thin layer, like a fog, very thin layer. I want to show you a small video. A small video how we applied the dust. Very thin layer, that's enough. You want to use a bulb duster or something similar. That way, you can actually get a very good control over the cockroaches. So we compared our IPM program with the contractor service over a 1-year period. At the beginning, the IPM program building had a 49% infestation. The control building had a 47% infestation rate. At 6 months, in the IPM building reduced to 24%, and then at 12 months, 12%. In the control building at 12 months, it still had a 29% infestation rate. So you can clearly see that the IPM program certainly achieved a faster or lower infestation rate. So why you say, why you cannot get to zero? The problem is that in a very large building like this, there are always new introductions, plus the spread from existing infestation to the new infestation. So it really takes time to get to very low levels, and it's very difficult to get to zero. After 2 years, actually, we went back to this building, the IPM building. It was still had a 10% infestation rate. So actually, it can maintain a very low rate for many years. But 10% is very low. We consider is certainly acceptable. So 100%, I would say 100% of buildings had roaches. The average, probably 20-30% had roaches. So now this building had only 10% up for like a 3-year period. The benefit of IPM is not only the greater reduction of the roaches, but also the allergen reduction. So we we basically collect the dust samples from the kitchen, and then we measure the concentration of G1 and G2, the 2 common allergens associated with the cockroaches. So you can see from 0 months to 12 months, the G1 level reduced from 10.5 to 0.4, and the G2 reduced from 8.1 to 0.8. Basically, there is more than 19% reduction in both allergens for a 1-year period. The more important is that the G1 level is below the threshold which causes asthma, so which is very important. That means pest control alone, you can reduce the allergen level below the clinically relevant levels. And in the past, if you search the medical journals, they use different procedures such as professional cleaning, HEPA filter, like cleaners, air cleaners, etc. And those are extremely expensive. But by doing pest control alone, you can achieve the same results, but it needs about a 1-year period. Another benefit about IPM is the insecticide residue reduction. So we found that there was a 74% reduction in the insecticide residues. plus the number of insecticides per apartment decreased from 2.5 to 1.5. So actually, you can actually have many different benefits from the IPM application. The second program I want to introduce is about a house mouse control program that we studied about 3 years from now. For now, yes. So this was from a HUD grant. We did this in 3 different cities, Patterson, New Brunswick, and Trenton. Here I want to introduce the results at Trenton. So the goal of this project is to reduce the mouse infestation and reduce the use of rodenticides. So house mouse is the second most common pest, indoor pest. So everyone probably occasionally will get some mice. I know my home always get the mice, but it was deer mice. Deer mice is very common here. But many homes can get a house mouse too, especially in we call garden style buildings. Here we chose this one because this side always have mice. So we selected this whole complex. But actually after the survey, we only used 150 about units. So each group we have about 50 units. So we divided into 3 treatments: trapping, baiting, exclusion, trapping, baiting, and control. Trapping means snap trapping, not the glue board. So many people try to use glue board. And this is actually from a company. They placed the glue board in the apartments as a way to control mice. But it's not a humane way to kill the mice. Secondly, it's not very effective. Well, people always say, I always catch mice with the glue board. But yes, you can catch them, but it's slower, it's much less efficient compared to snap traps. So snap traps is certainly much better. How you use the snap traps? And this is one way we use. So you put 2 snap traps in the box, then you put it in different locations. So this way you avoid getting accidental injury, from touching it, or it's just look nice. So we placed a pair of snap traps, box with snap traps, and also bait station. The bait station has 2 different rodenticides. So rodenticides actually is commonly used for house mouse control. The problem with rodenticides is that they have different efficacy issues. Plus, where you put also important. So you have to put closely to where they are located. They're hiding. So people also ask, trapping or baiting, which one is good? I personally believe that we should always use traps, because then you can throw with the mouse. You would avoid the smell. Plus, you would avoid having the ectoparasites that would migrate from the mice to you, because they would bite you. But unfortunately, in the apartment buildings, you really cannot go there very often, because if you have snap traps, supposedly you should go there second day, or at least within a few days, so that you can collect the traps. But because the schedule, you have to only go every 2 weeks or every month, so that's why companies tend to always use bait stations. We actually also use, because the time limit. So anyway, we want to compare between trapping, baiting, and trapping, baiting plus exclusion, and the existing pest control service. So exclusion is very important because you can prevent the introduction. So in theory, if you apply very well, you can increase the efficacy, especially long-term control. So we try to evaluate if the exclusion would improve the overall mouse control. So here shows the example before and after. This was done by a professional company. So sealed vents. If you check the buildings, many vents are not rodent-proof because the gaps or the screen is too big. The hole is too big. Here, we use the concrete to seal the gaps, plus for 1/4 inch stainless steel mesh. It's very important to seal the gaps at the screens. For inside, if you check the cabinets, many homes, almost 100% homes, that have these gaps around the pipes, this allows the mouse to go into the hollow, the drywall, and then go between departments, upstairs, downstairs, and neighbors, etc. So supposedly, all of these gaps should be sealed by, we call the escutcheon plates plus the caulking materials. Doors, especially the exterior doors, has to be sealed with called rodent-proof door sweeps, and all these utility lines need to be also sealed with this caulking material. Inside, the contractor actually used the glue balls and the rodenticides. So first, I mentioned that the glue balls are not very effective, and secondly, rodenticide supposedly they should be placed in the station to avoid accidental poisoning from pets or children, and this is a violation of the label really, and we should all be careful. So here is another stick trap by the pest control company. So this happens a lot in the field. So they want to save money or they don't want to spend time, then they just place some glue balls and rodenticides. This is behind the stove. Oops. So after 24 months, we did this for a 2-year period. We found that in the control, which is the building, the apartments managed by the pest control company, at the beginning 30% had the mice, at the end 56 have mice. So actually increased. So this is what happening that in many housing authorities, that they hire somebody come, but they don't really eliminate the pest. They just maintain the pest. For the trapping, baiting, and exclusion, at beginning 53% had mice, down to 2% after 1 year, then after another year, so 24 months only had 6%. So basically only 2 apartments still had the mice. In the trapping baiting group, at the beginning 32% had mice, 1 year later only 2%, then 24 months 0. So you can see both trapping baiting or trapping baiting plus exclusion all are very effective. Actually there is no significant difference between the trapping baiting plus exclusion and trapping baiting. So exclusion really didn't provide much benefit. One reason is the time is short. The second reason is actually we only sealed partial of the apartments, because each building has 50 units. I mean the group. We only sealed about half of those. Those have mice at the beginning. Those didn't have mice at the beginning, we didn't seal them because it's too expensive. I think that the mice migrated during that period of time. Plus, the new invasions from outside, they can still come in. So they would come in and infest those not sealed very well. So this study tells that if you really want to have a long-term benefit of exclusion, you should do it very thoroughly to all the units, not partial of the units. We also found that mouse control alone can reduce the mouse allergens, the MUS, the Muslim M1. So in the control, you can see control is this line. At the beginning, the concentration is about 11.7%. 11.7 microgram per gram dust. At the end, 16. So still very high. Actually increased. But in the intervention group, this concentration reduced from 18.3 to 0.4. This is the intervention group. Intervention group means I combined all the trapping baiting and trapping baiting plus exclusion treatments. So what's this means? So 0.4%, 0.4 concentration means that this is already below the clinically relevant level. So you no longer have to worry about the risk of asthma. So you can see the clear benefit of the effective mouse control itself. That was in the kitchen. In the bedroom, also we found the treatment groups caused a very low amount of the house mouse allergens. So at the end of 24 months, the level is 1.0, which is exactly the threshold level. So in the control, it still had a 8.2 microgram per gram. So effective mouse control certainly had the benefit of reducing not only the mice but also the mouse allergens. So here give you some summary about our past findings. That first, many low-income communities have very high pest infestation rates. That is always true across the whole nation. So something people never realize and really don't pay much attention. So we want to raise the awareness that we have many pests around, and they are the source of new infestations. So when you go to a hotel, when you go to travel, whatever, so you get pests. Why? Because you have reservoirs, and people travel. They bring bed bugs to different locations. The mice can spread from one building to another building, etc. Many factors associated with pest infestation mainly is the lack of cooperation, poor pest management service, the lack of training among the property management staff. So we need to educate people, increase their awareness, so that they are aware of the health risks of this pest. Plus, for the building managers or property managers, they need to hire effective, high quality pest control services, right? So not just to save money, but you have to really focus on the quality of the service. And people use a lot of pesticides. Everyone, regardless educated or not educated, many people use pesticides, and this should be educated. The government needs to increase efforts educating the public, or maybe implement some regulatory procedures so that prevent the misuse of certain products, or at least prevent the marketing of certain products which are not useful. And we also need to conduct research that develop more cost-effective strategies or policies to reduce the pests and associated health risks. And I hope you all can learn something and in the future and do something about this. My program actually in the past mostly funded by called the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. They have a program called the Healthy Homes Program. So they actually focus on reducing the indoor health risks, such as radon, carbon monoxide, pest infestation, allergens, mold, etc. So I'm glad that they focus they actually support research on pest infestation. The other one is called the NIFA CPPM program. In the past, they always supported the agriculture pest management programs, but in the last 10 years or so, they also help sponsor the urban IPM programs. There is a Northeastern IPM Center. I got a few grants from there. We always have small grants from manufacturers because they want to evaluate the different products. Then we collaborate with housing authorities. We visited more than 20 housing authorities in New Jersey. They are always welcome us to go back. So if you want to do some research, certainly you can also visit them. Because we usually give them free materials and free pest control service. Here are some pictures of my staff in the past. Narendra actually is a very productive postdoc, but he left for his own company. He no longer works in entomology. That's unfortunate. Jia Chen Zha, he's an artist now. He designed all kinds of nice pictures, mainly plants, insects. So, Dawson is an associate professor in South China Agricultural University. These are some of the members in my lab in the past. Xiaodan is still here, so she's a postdoc now. Amanda now works in Philadelphia for